welcome to our week 5 edition of the preview. I'm Adam Kulikowski. I'll be your host. I'm joined by Andy Shea. He's our resident expert, the guy with all the knowledge to share about the top games of the slate this week in our coverage area. Oh, and he's making picks and predictions for each of the games featured in this segment. Welcome, Andy.
Picks and predictions for every game. Who's number one on the picks contest this year?
Ooh.
Never mind.
I'm close behind them. I'm only 12 games out, 5 weeks in. That is terrible. Anyway, Andy, let's jump right in, head over to the Speedway. Zoom.
Like you do every week.
From State College roll in to face CD East. Both of these clubs sit atop the Commonwealth Division standings at 3-1 overall and 1-0 in the division. Andy, this might be the best matchup on the calendar this week. Give us your take on the contest.
Yeah, it's certainly an intriguing matchup, Adam. I mean, I think State College is fairly well balanced offensively. They're a pretty solid team on that side of the ball. I mean, the quarterback's thrown for 750 plus yards, got 7 touchdowns, no interceptions, great numbers. He's a dual threat and he leads them in rushing as well. That's a little bit of a pause for a cause there. I mean, they have a couple other backs they rely on that they will use, but neither's blown up yet. Jayshon Green, that's their star wideout. He's a threat in the pass game. Their losses to Downingtown East, that's a top 10 team in the state in 6A. So, but I think defensively, I think CD East is the better squad. And so where the rubber meets the pavement for this one is in that matchup. It's CD East defense against State College's offense. I will say you're starting to see that balance on CD East offense that they're looking for. You're starting to see the running back, the quarterback, the wide receivers all sort of contribute a little bit there. It's starting to be very balanced. It started the game before, but against Altoona last week, it was in full bloom. So there are a couple physical teams. So I expect this to be a physical matchup. It's nothing that CD East or State College isn't used to.
Andy, give us a player on each side who could be that X factor in this contest.
So for East, I'm going to go with the running back, Marcel McDaniels. He's blossoming into what fits the mold of what CD East wants to be offensively, which is sort of a run first team or running the ball team, because when Terrence Jackson Cottoney's in their quarterback, he's a threat. They want to get behind their offensive line and kind of move the ball that way. And for State College, it's wide receiver Jayshon Green. The Little Lions, they like to air it out. And the Panthers secondary is sticky in coverage and plays fast and mixes their coverage up. So I think that's a really good matchup to keep an eye on, is Jayshon against the East secondary.
Andy, we're headed into week 5 now. Winner of this matchup, are they the odds-on favorite to win the Commonwealth at this point?
Yeah, not quite yet. We're not there yet. We don't quite have enough inside the division information. CD's just coming back after a 2-week hiatus. They'll play a game this week for the first time in 21 days, and the Cougars are out there. So they are out there, and that's always it. So I don't think we're quite there yet.
Great race shaping up in the Commonwealth, folks. Andy, give us your prediction on this game.
So East wants to be a physical. They want to be a physical team, right? That's sort of what Lance has put their MO as, and I think this will be a decent test of that. But I'm going to ride the Panthers at home, but I think it's a really close football game.
Great. Let's keep moving. Let's take a ride down the Carlisle Pike to Cumberland Valley, where Altoona, they're 3-1 overall. We're square off against the 2-2 Eagles. Andy, break down this game for us.
So Altoona is going to be straight up in your face offensively. They will run the rock with Ethan Stroop and quarterback Ethan Steingoogle. They're their main weapons, right? They average single digits in pass attempts per game so far in 2021. And just to further clarify that number, Altoona's run the ball 169 times in 4 games and thrown it exactly 40. So basically 4 out of every 5 offensive plays they run, they're focused on pounding it on the ground. So defensively, Cumberland Valley's been pretty good all season as it's sort of navigated its way through these 16 quarters. That last salvo against Carlisle was not very good that they absorbed from the Thundering Herd. But I think in terms of run defense, they've been pretty solid all season. The Eagles offense, it's still a work in progress. My question in this one is, can CV put enough points on the board to make Altoona a little bit uncomfortable and sort of getting out of its, we want to run the ball 4 out of every 5 plays box? So that's the big question for me in this game. Big plays, chunk plays. They're starting to find their way in the mix a little bit more for Cumberland Valley with each passing week. So I think that's a big factor in this game as well.
One more question for you, Andy. Is this the game we look back on at the end of the season as a turning point for these clubs?
Maybe, but I'm not convinced that this is a watershed game for each club. I don't think it is the watershed game for each club. I just think it's the next one. So I don't think this is a turning point game for these squads.
Andy, give us your prediction. Who's gonna walk out on Friday night with the win?
Yeah, wow. This one, I don't know. I mean, CV's defense is vulnerable against the pass a little bit. They just are. And Altoona doesn't really want to pass to move the rock. So you got strength versus strength there. I'll take the Eagles at home, but I'm not confident and comfortable with that pick at all.
Okay. Let's head out to one more game. Let's go to Dillsburg for a final matchup at Bostic Stadium, where Northern New York will host East Pennsboro in a Colonial Division showdown. Andy, break down this game for us.
So I'm going to give you one key for each team in this matchup. How's that? For East Pennsboro, I think the key is not having to chase another game from behind, right? So 2 weeks in a row, they track down victories where, second half, fourth quarter in particular, they were behind. Last week, they scored 20 unanswered points against Greencastle in the fourth quarter to win by 8. I think a key for them is to rise up earlier and put your stamp on this game before the clock sort of becomes an enemy, like not your friend. Like, okay, we've got momentum, but we're fighting the clock now as well as the opponent. So I think that's a key for East Pennsboro. For Northern, it's the ability to stand up to a physical battle in the trenches. I'm not saying they can't, but East Pennsboro is physical. They're big across the front on both sides of the ball, and they don't just have sort of that one star lineman carrying the load and most of the water up the hill for them on either side of the ball, which is kind of what they've had the last 3-4 years. I think they're solid across the front on both sides of the ball, particularly along the offensive line, and that is going to be the key for Northern. Is can they meet that challenge up front and keep it a game like where the physical game doesn't overwhelm them.
Andy, give us your prediction on this game.
So I'm going to ride with East Pennsboro. I think they have a nice combination of speed and power in the running game, and that can unsettle a defense, right? Size really fast, and they have the ability to be whatever they want in terms of running the ball. So as a defense, you have to pick your poison, and I kind of like that combo in this matchup. That's why I'm going to take the Panthers here.
And Andy, you mentioned Cy. We have Cy Burgos under the spotlight this week with our player interview. So check that out on fourthdownmagazine.com. That's it for this edition of the preview. Get out to see one of these games or another one on the slate. Support your local teams and check us out at fourthdownmagazine.com for all of our weekly content. See ya.